Okay, so welcome back. So this is the final talk for today. So we have Bharadwaj here who will be talking about ARTPark. So let me introduce him. Most of you know him in person. So Bharadwaj is a professor with the Department of ECE and the chair of the Robert Bosch Center for Cyber Physical Systems at the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. He received MS and PhD degrees in architecture from Stanford University in 94 and 99 respectively. His current research interests are in large-scale IoT-enabled systems and collaborative telerobotics. So today he will be talking about our new initiative, the center's new initiative. It's called the ARTPark. So with that, over to you, Bharadwaj.
Thank you, Shishir. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. And it's been a very interesting day, a lot of interesting talks. It's been a long day with some technical difficulties, but I appreciate the patience by everyone. I'll keep this talk short. This is more to introduce our new initiative, which we are kind of calling ARTPark, AI and Robotics Technology Park. And it's something which we are doing in IISc with jointly with AI Foundry, and Umakant from AI Foundry already got introduced to him.
Sorry, we can't see your slide.
You can't see my slide. I'm already sharing it. Let me stop sharing and reshare again.
Yeah.
Maybe that might help.
I think it should work now.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Perfect.
It's coming. Okay. And then I'll hide this. Okay. So the genesis of this particular new initiative is actually goes back a couple of years. The Department of Science and Technology, which is part of Government of India, actually set up a national mission in interdisciplinary cyber physical systems. And they kind of deliberated. They took a couple of years to deliberate on what should be the focus of this new mission. And they consulted a lot of different stakeholders and came up with a very interesting and novel approach. And usually, Department of Science and Technology gives grants directly to academic institutions. This time, they said, let us create what they call technology innovation hubs as not-for-profit companies. And they will give grants to these hubs with an aim to create innovative technologies and translate them out to society in some form or the other, so that we can have impact. The research grant should not remain and just come out as research publications. They want something more out of these grants, and for that, this is a new experiment, a very bold experiment, I would say, which they are undertaking. And IISc and all the IITs and other leading institutions are part of this experiment. So from our IISc perspective, we were deliberating what is the area we should focus on. And if you look at the scenario in India, some of the trends which kind of show up are these rapid urbanization. And this is something which is changing the way our society is evolving. And 40% of the people in India will be in cities in the next decade. And this has an implication both on the rural side, where labor is reducing, as well as on the city side, where things are becoming pretty bad. Second thing is the demographic demand for jobs is growing. As you all know, median age is 28 years in India, one of the youngest countries in the world, high poverty and very high unemployment. And also, if you see, manufacturing in India is still a very small fraction, and we are still importing all the important components from abroad. Of course, these are very big problems for any single institution to really take on. But from our IISc perspective, we felt AI and robotics will be a major game changer, which will have an impact on all these problems. Instead of transporting skills, can we use technologies to actually transport? Instead of transporting labor, instead of people moving, can they actually move skills? And that is where we are saying tele-X, right? And we saw some examples in the previous talk by Amit for that. Mobility, right? Can we use the third dimension for moving things, moving goods? how can we use AI technology to make more sophisticated tools, but which are much easier to use by a common person? And finally, for manufacturing and job creation, how can we use and combine these technologies to create new industries, new manufacturing opportunities, and new demands, so that we can bypass the traditional manufacturing products and jump to these new age products, which are hopefully invented in India, and hence it will be made in India. And as you have heard by now, based on all the talks and other things which are happening, the scope for AI and robotics is rapidly increasing, more so post-COVID. And we expect to see more and more of these machines getting incorporated in the standard operating procedures. And they will also start getting delegated with more and more routine physical tasks. And also having these machines work in our natural environment as opposed to an industrial controlled environment will imply that they need to have something like a common sense, and something similar to what Pulkit Agarwal very nicely, eloquently explained in the first talk of this particular symposium. So the next 10 years, we believe this will actually gain momentum, and in IISc, we would like to really surf this wave and hopefully lead this wave. So with that in mind, we conceptualize this our hub, Technology Innovation Hub, which we are calling ARTPark, AI and Robotics Technology Park. And we want this to help India become a global powerhouse, to catalyze the economic growth engine through AI and robotics, where this hub can help provide open tools, open test beds, data banks, and contribute to standards, IPs, technologies, and more, and importantly, creation of new startups. What we are hoping is that the next 10 years, Mission 2030, the work done through this hub will impact the entire country, and there will be a lot of patents, and hopefully we will impact other hubs, hope to create new hubs, and we hope to also create a lot of startups over the next 10 years, either directly from the hub or impact or benefit the startups which are created elsewhere, but which collaborate with the hub. So where we are, this ARTPark is something which is, we hope will address a very important gap in our research ecosystem, where the research which gets done in academia remains in academia, probably gets published, and the industry does its own R&D, and there is this big gap. Of course, there are exceptions, but it's not, they still remain an exception. So this ARTPark is something which is going to be supported by departments of science and technology and the government of Karnataka, and it will sit in between IISc and other academic institutions and the industry. So what we are hoping is that the ARTPark will take up ambitious mission mode projects with very clear goal, but which are very ambitious, which involves multiplicity of technologies and needs collaboration of multiple faculties in IISc and also other academic partners from other academic institutions and industry partners. And in the process, it will lead to creation of technologies and lots of other collaterals. And hopefully, some of these technologies can then be pushed out as startups. So we envision academic and industry collaborators working with engineers in this ARTPark and working with what we call technopreneurs. And together, these communities will help create these new startups. So this ARTPark, is going to build on, it will have a focus of robotics and autonomous systems. And there are deep strengths in IISc and a lot of our academic and industry partners in these areas, in robotics, vehicles, learning, vision, speech, AI, etc. And you heard some of them today in the symposium. But use these technology capabilities and strengths to solve problems in application areas like mobility, healthcare, the labor, future of work, in defense, mining, agriculture, etc. And that's where ARTPark will help catalyze these kinds of mission projects in these application areas. And the outcome of these projects will hopefully go out into the society through startups and also influence the government policies and standards. So the mission projects which we want to choose them based on this what we call triple impact. These projects should lead to large societal impact. They should have deep tech in them, and hopefully they should be something which can lead to economically sustainable operations in the future. So we want to take up activities which are at the intersection of these. And we want to kind of facilitate these with facilities, because work in these areas like robotics, autonomous systems requires a lot of investment. It requires a lot of experimental support. And ARTPark can really play a big role, where working with with IISc, we will set up multiple facilities like Makery, Dronery, Vahanam for research in autonomous vehicles, and finally Data Setu for data, which is very important for AI technologies for both robotics and general AI.
So we lost your screen again.
Lost the screen again? Okay. I'll just share. Which slide?
Still don't see. Yeah, but I don't think you changed the slide.
Which slide did you lose me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So as part of this, we are setting up facilities in all these areas, and this slide kind of summarizes these facilities. What I'm showing on the top left is this facility for testing drones, because the airspace is a very valuable resource, and we anticipate that becoming something. It's going to be an enormous resource with a lot of applications and potential for huge economic upside. And when you look at this airspace, the Class G airspace, which is from ground to 400 feet, there will be a lot of buildings and so on. And then you need to be able to, when you design these drones, you need to be able to test them against these kinds of structures. And this is what this particular facility will allow us to actually create different kinds of wind patterns, turbulence patterns, etc. Kind of like a wind tunnel, but wind tunnel for drones. And it will be very configurable, very modular, and you will be able to kind of simulate all kinds of conditions. We want to actually, we have some space in our campus. This is the satellite image of the airfield, which is essentially maintained by the aerospace department. And we have another campus 200 kilometers north of here, which has 1,500 acres. So in these campuses, we are going to actually, in these spaces, we are going to build up this connected autonomous vehicle test facility, both for ground and air vehicles, where, as you know, 5G and Wi-Fi 6 are kind of important connectivity technologies which are emerging. And we want to essentially, we'll be creating this test bed with these connectivity technologies to really help spur the connected vehicles and connected drones research. And this facility will also have a test bed for autonomous vehicle testing, both autonomous as well as semi-autonomous operations, with the different kinds of terrain conditions, different junctions, different interferences in terms of simulating crowds and other vehicles coming in and so on. So this will be something which will be very valuable to allow for developing and testing such technologies. And finally, a lot of this research as we go forward really depends on data. And we also heard that over and over again in the panel discussion, and how we are not able to actually collect, curate, and analyze this data in a holistic way. And to really support that, we are actually doing this data, what we call the Data Setu, which will be another facility which will really allow us to collect data and make it available, these data sets of all kinds, to enable our ecosystem and research partners to kind of do further work and development. So I'll just give you a couple of example mission projects which we are planning to undertake. And so one of them is what we are calling the drone Skyways. because just like you have road network, you have to create these kind of equivalent of a road network in the sky at these lower altitudes. How do you create them? How do you manage them? How do you deal with what is the equivalent of a traffic junction? What is the equivalent of a traffic police? How do you pull over a rogue drone? There are a lot of interesting questions, and these are, some of them are really solvable, but some are actually hard research problems. And this is something which is very critical, because if you have this kind of infrastructure, then you will really unlock this whole airspace. And that will actually be a big boost to the entire drone industry and everything around that. And this is something which cannot be done by a single institution, and this really requires a collaboration of multiple institutions to come together, along with the regulatory agencies like DGCA, Ministry of Civil Aviation, and so on. And there is a lot of deep tech involved out here. And of course, if we crack this, it will lead to many companies and overall economic development. And this will hopefully spur, and the automotive industry, which is struggling, will probably find renewed opportunities with with manufacturing drones. Similarly, the Amit very nicely gave the setup and context for tele-robotics. There are multiple applications. We are looking at how, in collaboration with Hansen, we want to create this robot called Asha. As you know, Asha is the kind of the pillar of our public health in rural areas and so on. So can we create an Asha which can interact with patients? And again, this is there are many challenges which Amit already explained, and having the ability to create such robots will allow people to actually operate them remotely. So instead of you coming here, the farm labor from Bihar can actually do harvesting in the farm in Karnataka. So these are some of the new opportunities which could emerge, leading to a new kind of business process outsourcing. And hopefully it will add a new dimension to the economy, and the many applications in health, education, etc., which was already discussed earlier. Similarly, we are very interested in exploring autonomous vehicles even in the ground. There are even though the Minister of Road Transport categorically said he will not allow autonomous cars, vehicles on the Indian roads. Actually, there are a lot of applications which need autonomous vehicles or even semi-autonomous vehicles. And I think these will add to the jobs, it will not take away from jobs. And there are last mile connectivity issues, then challenges in transporting materials in remote areas, in mines, mining areas, ports, docks, industrial warehouses, etc., which require this kind of technology, especially nighttime transport. So that is something very interesting and challenging from a research perspective. And a lot of opportunity from safety reason, from efficiency reason, if you can have autonomous vehicles operate in the night. Again, it can have a big impact in the economy of the country if you can crack this problem. Of course, a very important component of this technology innovation hub is going to be manpower development. And as I said, this hub is not just to support activities in IISc, but also other academic institutions. So we will be looking to support PhD students, master students, bachelor students, both in IISc and other partnering institutions to work on projects in these areas of AI and robotics and autonomous systems. There will be a lot of skills development courses which we'll be supporting, and an interesting program we want to start called Technopreneurship Program, where we want to have technology entrepreneurs be mentored and also learn how to create companies with that. Besides students, we'll also have faculty fellows, both in IISc and other partnering universities, chair professorships. And also we want to have industry mentors. We want to have people with deep industry experience be here in ARTPark as fellows who can really guide and mentor and help support these activities. And finally, in collaboration with the Venture Studio, we want to have this Technopreneur in Residence activity, again with industry mentors, VC mentors. And the idea is these mission projects, from day one, we want to start thinking about how we can actually bring out technologies through startups. Right? What could be the market and business story for these activities? And all of these we want to do through open calls and competitive selection. So DST and Government of Karnataka have already kind of are kind of in advanced stage of approval of this particular mission and of this particular hub. And we are also talking to many industry partners who have expressed interest to be part of this activity. I've listed some of them there, and maybe some are missing, but this is an ongoing discussion, so that we want to bring in the industry partners out here and also have a collaboration with universities both in Karnataka, in India, as well as around the globe. And we want to engage with all these different stakeholders, industry, academia, other AI clusters around the world, as well as government, state and central government. And we are, the idea is that each stakeholder brings in their own strengths and capabilities to this partnership. Know-how, certainly partnership, and hopefully some of these will also be able to support through grants these activities. So there is an initial founding team. We have Professor Debashish Ghosh, we have Professor Suresh from Debashish Ghosh is from aerospace, so is Professor Suresh. You already heard Professor Chiranjeev from computer science, and then Professor Shalabh from computer science. And we also have two industry veterans, Umakant, who we already got introduced, he moderated the session earlier, and Subhashish. So together we are formulating this technology innovation hub, and we'll launch it very soon as a separate Section 8 company. So with that, I've come to the end. I'll just stop here and pause here if you have any questions. And then after that, I'll conclude say the word of thanks and conclude this symposium.
Okay, so let's thank the speaker now. So please, if you want to ask a question in person, you can also raise hand. So remember that. So I'll be waiting for questions to be posted here. Okay, so there is one question from Varun. Where will this hub come up?
This hub will be set up. It will have some space here in IISc only. And as it grows, it might actually need space outside. All the facilities of the hub will be in IISc, as I indicated, the airfield we have, and then also we have another campus 200 kilometers from here. But again, that is our initial thought. But as we go along, if we get additional land from the Karnataka government, we can even set up more facilities in that land.
So the next question is from Srinivasan Ramakrishnan. What are some intermediate milestones?
So the first milestone is to actually create this Section 8 legal entity and get the operations going of this, form the executive team, and identify. And as I said, there are these two kind of threads. One is technology innovation, and the other is technology translation. And we want to essentially, and we have some initial set of mission projects which I kind of identified. And these mission projects, we want to kind of do them in a way where they scale up, based on the performance of the projects. Are they addressing some real needs? How much progress is happening? And what is the feedback from the stakeholders? And as we go forward, we'll be taking more mission projects. And we would also like to be able to quickly have a few startups engaged, and also hopefully a few startups come out. So that's kind of what I'm not kind of giving you more detailed breakdown of the milestones, but there is like a yearly and a half yearly breakdown of milestones and so on, which we have planned. But yeah, this is broadly what we want to do.
So, okay, so one final question, and then we will end the session. So this question is from Prashant Chuk from CDOT. What are the areas of collaboration between the industry and academic partners?
So I think there are multiple points of collaboration, especially for CDOT. We are very, as you know, connectivity and next generation connectivity technologies is something which we are very keen to incorporate as part of this activity. Our test bed, we'll be actually doing and looking to set up a 5G and a Wi-Fi 6 type test bed. And, so these kinds of setting up these test beds, operating these test beds, looking at, kind of having different technologies tried out in these test beds, all these are great opportunities for collaboration with various companies.
So with that, thanks a lot, Bharadwaj. So let's thank the speaker again. Okay, so Bharadwaj, you can take over.
So I'll just take another few minutes to express our appreciation to various people who have made this symposium, I would think, a really good success. First is, of course, the organizers of the symposium. Dr. Shishir, he's been hosting this session along with Dr. Vaibhav, and along with Dr. Raghu, they were instrumental in putting this whole program together. So a big vote of thanks to them. The actual operation of this symposium was greatly benefited thanks to the involvement of Aditya. He's been working, and Subramani, both have been working behind the scenes to really get this entire operation going. As you know, this is the first time we are trying something like this online, and it's been a learning experience both for us as well as for AirMeet, which is the company which is helping us with this. And I'm sure things will only become better as we go forward. All this technology will improve. So I would also like to thank our Robert Bosch group of companies, Robert Bosch Engineering, which has been I would say, visionary sponsor for this whole center. And they have always been with us and supporting us in all our endeavors. And our Professor Narahari and Rangarajan, the divisional chairs, they have been again instrumental in supporting the center as well as this particular symposium. Our director, Professor Anurag Kumar, he's actually retiring in a couple of weeks. He actually was been one of the key people in helping to set up this whole Robert Bosch Center for Cyber Physical Systems. And in fact, he's been, I would say, kind of a pioneering visionary in kind of saying, let's look at cyber physical systems as the area. And he has also had a lot of influencing role to play to help influence Department of Science and Technology to actually take up this area and allocate money to this area. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all of you in the audience for very patiently sitting through the symposium and listening and participating with your questions. I think it's been a very good experience for us, and hopefully it has been good for you also. So with that, I will end this particular session and wish you all a very good weekend. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll be ending the session.